Welcome to part 3.
Quill and brush has kind of faded away. It used to be the mainstay. That's what people used all the time, or repeatiographs as well. That's what people would use, and a lot of that's been replaced with felt tip markers. I see no problem with that, but I think that you should probably make an effort to still learn how to brush ink, and still make an effort on getting a couple of quills and see what kind of lines they give you, because it's nice to have those in your arsenal just so that you have the convenience of the brush pens, but then you can also give yourself a nice actual real brush line, and the same thing with the quills. So, all right, back to this. I keep a huge stock of the small and the extra small pens, here at the house or at the studio, and I don't hesitate to toss these because, I don't, it's when I was growing up and didn't have a whole lot of money to get supplies, I would use a pen until, I knew it was done when it had ran dry, but that's not the case anymore. I mean, if you want the lines to look really nice, then, make sure that your supplies are fresh, well taken care of, and in the case of, the fine tip ones, make sure that they're brand new so that they can give you a really, thin line. So, okay, let's look at pencils, or in this case, erasers. Use the really big plastic eraser, for knocking out big areas of cleanup. Let's see, this is one of the real, just from high school. Actually, I think I used this in high school. It's just, a clicky eraser that has basically the same contents of eraser as, the big plastic one. And this eraser is called Sanford Tough Stuff, and it's got the same sort of material in it as the larger erasers, but you can just get in close whenever you're erasing, a mouth or a nose or something. That's whenever I use this sort of thing. Let's see, this is a small pencil sharpener that I take with me. You might wonder why I need that whenever all of my pencils are, mechanical ones or something, but that is because I keep it with my all the colored pencils that I take with me to conventions. Let's see, this pencil is something I got back when I was high school, or right out of high school, actually. And it's just a normal, conventional 0.5 pencil, so nothing special with it. Any 0.5 mechanical pencil would work. I know several professional pencilers that just use regular old mechanical pencils, just whatever brand they happen to like. This is a thicker one. I think this uses 0.7 pencil lead, and it looks pretty complex, but it's just like a normal mechanical pencil as well. I just like it because of the thick grip that's here on it, and because it's just got a larger lead. But any pencil could have done this. Oh, I'm sorry. This pencil is actually a 0.9, not a 0.7. Sorry about that. I just noticed this. And it even says it on it. I'm a smart guy. Let's see. Next is non-photo blue pencils, and these are some actual mechanical pencils that have non-photo blue lead in them, which was really something I haven't seen before, but my wife found it online. These are 0.7 leads. I don't think you would want anything smaller, even if that exists, just because the drawback with using these is that they do tend to sometimes snap if you have a long if you have a long lead sticking out. So just be mindful of that. But I like them a lot because I don't like, big, thick, waxy, non-photo blue lines all over the page that I'm drawing. So I also keep the extra lead with me, the 0.5 lead with me, and then the mechanical non-photo blue pencils with me. Let me go to the next section of my carrying case. I've got some gray markers that, let's see, I don't carry many of these with me. Prismacolor, Premier, Cool Gray markers. It comes with a large end and also a fine tip as well, and it's the same color or whatever. The only ones I carry with me are the 20% Cool Gray and then the 10% as well. The only drawback to these is whenever you're using India ink has a tendency to be kind of brownish in color, like it has a slight brown hue, and these markers have a slight bluish hue. So when you're combining the two, sometimes you have to be, you can't use them interchangeably. You couldn't like use one of these markers and then a gray wash using India ink and expect it to look like the same type of shade of gray or something. One's going to have blue, a bluish hint, and one's going to have a brown. These are Prismacolor brush markers that I happened to get from San Diego Con last year, I think. They were handing them out as free samples, and they have a nice tip on them, which is why I keep them around, but I don't, but they tend to not be as opaque, which is, they're not as, they're slightly grayish, in other words, even though it says that it's black. But I just use that material whenever, or I use these whenever I'm wanting to use a brush marker in an area that's not quite as black. It's almost like I'm creating atmospheric perspective or whatever using it. So, but I like how thin tipped the brush markers are. Next is a mirror. Yeah, there I am. This is a piece of mirror that my father-in-law cut for me a few years ago whenever he was working at a glass cutting store, and we've rounded off the edges and stuff so that there's no sharp edges on it. But this has been all over the U.S. with me as I've gone to different conventions. But it's just a piece of mirror that I can look at a commission, in reverse, and it allows me to see if something looks off balance or something. I can't really describe it, but I know that I'm not the only artist who does it, but I found that whenever I was younger, whenever I would look at something in reverse, I could tell if it looked off balance, so looked asymmetrical or uneven or something. So that's what I use it for. I don't use a lot of color. I don't do a lot of color work whenever I'm at a convention, just because it slows stuff down. But it's sometimes cool to do like a color accent, like if I'm doing a Superman commission, to just add some blue basically to the main body, or if I'm doing a flash, add some red and some yellow, and it really pops the commission sometimes. So, or this might even be the last thing unless I think of something else. Well, maybe not. I use my iPhone. every convention that I go to, I use it to look up reference and also to take a photo of the commission after I'm done with it. And the camera on this is not perfect. It's not super high megapixel, but I can take a picture and then print that that commission later on, and print it at about 80% size of a normal piece of printer paper, and it still looks pretty good. So it's good to keep record of it and stuff. And then this binder for original art. You might be wondering why I would feature this, but it's mainly because this brand, which is HFP, the size that they make their pages, even though it's labeled as 11 by 17, these are DC Artboard has been historically slightly larger. It's been 11.5 inches by 17. So finding an art binder to hold it was kind of a pain in the past, because most art binders are not made for that. If it's 11 by 17, that's exactly the size of the page. But this brand, which is HFP, they happen to have an extra amount of bleed, basically, or I shouldn't say bleed, but an extra amount of their pages are 11.5 inches wide, so you can actually fit the DC board in there. Now, on a side note, that might not be a problem, coming up pretty soon, because recently DC actually went to 11 by 17 art paper. So, but for all the old pages, 11.5 by 17, this is a good brand of art binder to get. So
that's pretty much all the supplies that I use whenever I'm working traditionally. So, but feel free to experiment with whatever materials that you can get your hands on. You might be able to think of something cool that you can use in years to come. All right, so that's it. Take care. Bye.